Is there a power shift in the WWE and the World Heavyweight Championship scene as Roman Reigns comes face to face with a new potential challenger in Seth Rollins on the latest episode of Monday Night Raw? It's been 4 years ever since Seth and Roman came face to face in a match, and that was at the Royal Rumble, where it ended in a disqualification because Roman Reigns' emotions were pushed way too far, and then he ended it in a DQ by choking Seth out. We do need this match. I don't know where it will happen, whether it be at Money in the Bank, whether it be at Summerslam if Roman does retain or he doesn't face Obafemi or someone else, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen. So on this episode of Monday Night Raw, we had Seth Rollins coming out trying to cut a promo, but he was interrupted by Braun Breaker, and the two had a brawl, which ended in Seth Rollins getting the crap out of him, beat up and speared. What's insane is that this actually works a lot better than the segment last week, where Seth was just flaming Braun Breaker on the mic. I think in terms of Braun Breaker, he kind of needs to work in his promos, but in ring, this man is a beast, man. This man will spear anyone out of their boots. He probably has one of like the top 3 spears ever of all time in WWE. So obviously it is building up to Seth versus Braun Breaker at Backlash, and it is going to be very interesting to see where this match goes. Obviously it is opening the show, or it is one of the openers of the show, so I don't think it will get enough time, but I am hoping that with the time that they have during the match, that they do enough that will kind of progress the story. I don't think this is the only match they will have. I think this is the first in many, and yeah, I'm very interested to see. Another kind of layer that is added onto the show that happens a bit later is that the Street Profits were also going after the other members of the Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory. They were going after them because Logan Paul has an issue with Joe Hendry, and they were kind of doing a 2-on-1 after it was supposed to be a normal match between Austin Theory and Joe Hendry, but Logan Paul got involved. They were beating Joe Hendry up. Street Profits come in, they save Joe Hendry, and then it kind of led to Braun Breaker coming out to help the other members of the Vision, which also led to Seth Rollins coming out, and then Seth Rollins getting speared again, which was like insane. But now this also kind of leads to another segment where the Street Profits and Joe Hendry, they don't trust Seth Rollins. And granted, because obviously Seth Rollins was the leader of the Vision. He was the one that was, causing all of this mayhem, and he created these monsters. And obviously they are not going to help him destroy his monsters because they're focused on the tag team titles, and Joe Hendry's just focused on just pissing off Logan Paul as much as possible. Another feud that seems to be continuing is the feud between the Judgment Day and Finn Balor. Obviously we had the blow-off match between Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania, where the Demon Finn Balor did win, but we didn't have the match between JD McDonough and Finn Balor, and that happened tonight. But the interesting wrinkle was the fact that Roxanne Perez, the person that Finn Balor brought into the Judgment Day, we kind of need to find out where her alliances are. And what happened was that Liv Morgan kind of questioned her, said that she's destined for the tag team division with Raquel, so that the Judgment Day as a family, or quote unquote family, can hold as much gold as they can. And Roxanne kind of took to it because she has loyalties to the Judgment Day. But you can kind of see that there was kind of like a bit of a hesitation with that. And then when you go onto the match between JD and Balor, very good match. Obviously I expect no less from the both of them. The interferences were a lot though, that I can say. There were a lot of interferences, as Judgment Day would do. That is kind of their MO. But what the main interference with it was that Roxanne obviously took the hammer that Dominic usually uses to cheat, and she hit Finn Balor with it, which allowed JD to pin Finn Balor and win. Also, kind of an insane thing that Finn Balor is losing to JD McDonough and not Dominic. But this will obviously further the story between the Judgment Day and Finn Balor. Will Finn Balor need help in the likes of maybe Damian Priest or Rhea Ripley or other people that are feuding with the Judgment Day? Maybe even Stephanie Vaquer. But it is obviously like certain that this feud will continue, and maybe we have a big blow off at Clash in Italy. Is it Clash in Italy or whatever that is? But Clash in Italy at the end of the month. Now we move on to the Intercontinental title scene, where today it was Javon Evans teaming up with Penta to face the team of Rusev and Ethan Page. And this match was good, man. You had obviously the two powerhouses in Ethan Page and Rusev on the one side, and you had your high flyers in Penta and Javon Evans on the other side. Lots of flying, lots of power, and what was really, really crazy was that Penta got pinned. The champion, the Intercontinental Champion Penta, got pinned by Ethan Page in his like third week on Raw. And obviously they are going to build to this match between Ethan Page and Penta. I don't know when. Maybe next week, maybe the week after. I thought it was going to be at Backlash, but they're not doing that. But very interesting to see. What I did like was the potential tag team of Rusev and Ethan Page. I think that can be a very, very good tag team. I'm scared if they do that because WWE does not care about tag teams. But if you kind of do this thing where they're helping each other and eventually it leads to kind of them kind of splitting off and having to face each other for that Intercontinental Championship, which will eventually happen obviously because there can only be one champion. It's going to be very interesting to see and very fun. And with the different dynamics that are happening with like obviously Penta, Javon also there, it's a very interesting Intercontinental Championship scene. We had the first ever Obafemi Open Challenge today, and obviously it was going to be a squash match today. Like, I didn't think that like the challenge or the big challenge for Oba was going to be like his first opponent, right? But at first we thought it was going to be like Tozawa to face Obafemi, which was going to end like quicker, like that was going to end in like 5 seconds. But it ended up being Otis in a crazy match, and this man Obafemi lifted Otis. Otis is not a small person by any standards. This man deadlifted him and gave him a fall from grace, which was insane, like crazy. Like, this man Obafemi can do everything. And I really hope that the next challenge that he gets challenges him in a different way, where it's not just a power game that he has to face. It could be someone that is a lot faster, someone that can kind of match him in strength, someone like a Sheamus. Sheamus would be perfect. I can't wait for Sheamus to return and have a match with him. Even someone like a Rey Mysterio would be fun to have a match against Obafemi. Or you could do someone like a pure striker, someone that's good at pure striking. Just have different types of challenges for the man just before you can have that major feud where he can either win a championship, a mid-card championship, or at SummerSlam he wins the World Heavyweight Championship. We also got the potential build to Sol Ruca versus Becky Lynch for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and this is exactly what I wanted for Sol. Someone more experienced to kind of challenge her. Obviously, she also just debuted like 3 weeks ago. She had the match against Liv Morgan, she lost that. And this is kind of a perfect place to put her in the match against Becky Lynch, where she can kind of learn from Becky and also kind of get that rub, because Becky is an experienced wrestler. This would be a fun match, man. And I can see Becky actually dropping the title to Sol. And the botch that Sol did, that wasn't a botch, that was AI. Sol can actually do that, Soul Snatcher. Also, she kind of needs to change the catchphrase, because taking someone's soul is a bit mad, but I will not judge you for saying that. But yeah, it is going to be a very interesting match. We also kind of got the build to the other two members of the Judgment Day, Raquel and Roxanne versus Bailey and Lyra, for whoever will challenge for that tag team title that Nikki Bella, is it Nikki or is it Brie? It's Brie Bella and Paige will challenge for. So things are happening in that mid-card division. I just need a little bit more where it comes to that intercontinental championship division, because it's just Sol Ruca, Becky Lynch. You can even throw Io Sky, you can throw Asuka in there after they're done with their feud there. We've got Maxine Dupree that's not doing anything. There's a bunch of people on that division that need time, but obviously time will depend on if WWE will actually give them the time to do that. Okay, now let's speak about the main event segment. This was the contract signing between Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns for their match at Backlash for that World Heavyweight Championship. And like I said, Roman Reigns' back is against the wall because Jacob Fatu is going for that World Heavyweight Championship. He is probably one of Roman's more aggressive challenges that he's ever had. And I'm talking about like including the previous one that he had with the Undisputed Championship. I think that Jacob is kind of the face in this one, because obviously Roman is at like that level where he is the tribal chief and he is the one that is the more dominant one, right? But Jacob is kind of the underdog in the situation, and he is like the lone wolf, the underdog, where Roman has the Usos behind him. He is kind of the tribal chief. He is the one that kind of owns WWE in a sense, and Jacob is the one that is obviously trying to fight for his life and his livelihood, for his family, whereas Roman is trying to look after the whole family as a whole, but is also kind of giving that he is the more kind of dictator in that situation. So it is a very interesting dynamic. I do think that the match is going to be very, very good. It is main eventing Backlash, and I'm really interested to see if the other members of the Bloodline will interfere, like I said, Jimmy and Jay, because they're kind of going heel at this point. Same thing with Solo and Tala Tonga. So it is like a very interesting direction where they will go with this match. Obviously Roman should retain. I don't think he's going to lose it. Reports have been saying that Roman isn't going to be at he isn't going to be on the shows for June. He's not going to be working Crown Jewel in Saudi. So it's very interesting. Could he lose it? I don't think so. But if he does, then Jacob carrying the title for like a month or two would be fun. So I would not be against it. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about this episode of Raw. Is there anything that was interesting? It was a very short episode of Raw. Where is LA Knight also? This man just disappeared off the face of the earth. He was supposed to have a feud with Gunther, but obviously Gunther went on to SmackDown to face Cody Rhodes, and now LA Knight has nothing. Like, where is he? This man was promised a better year, but good things come to people who suffer, I guess, according to Triple H. But yeah, you guys will let me know what you guys think.